What's up, class? Evans here. Today we're going to make the train body. As you can see, it takes several steps. None of them are overly hard, and maybe only a few items you haven't done before. But it is very uh, dimension heavy. So with all the little holes that are there, each hole comes with 3 dimensions: its size and 2 dimensions for its location. So if you mess up one, then it's going to be off. So I'm going to go through this whole process from start to finish to make the train body, and then later we will learn how to decorate it better. Remember, this part is made out of yellow brass, which should contrast nicely with all the red brass pieces that we've been making. Let's get started. So up in our miniature train folder, which you should have already, you're going to create a new part, and it's going to be one train body, and then your class period and your initials. All right, let's go. To get this started, let's get the overall shape, and I think we'll start with the front of the train and get it from there. So it's going to be a rectangle with a circle a certain height above it, and then we'll combine those two together as one sketch and then extrude it the distance forward. The whole thing is 550, and the cab in the back is 175, so we'll just subtract those two and make our first shape. Now, I think it's important that we keep this thing centered. Um, I want to have the right plane going right through the middle of the part. So the entire train is 2 by, just the bottom rectangle part is 2 by 875. But I want to have this thing centered. So to do that, I'm going to take a dimension tool, and I'm going to click on the side. Any one of the sides will do, and I'm going to click on the right face, that line right through the middle, and I want that to be 1 so that it's centered it. And I think this is very important. Next, I'm going to make a circle. Notice how it's lining up to the origin there. I'm going to click somewhere up here and stretch it out. Don't snap it to anything. And I want that to be a radius of 0.75. This is a diameter, so that should be double that. So 0.75 times 2, which should give us 150. Now, it doesn't seem that it's lining up correctly, and that's because this is a certain height above the bottom of the train. If you look, it says it's 1375 from the bottom, the center of the kind of the tank part there. So that's 1.375. There we go. Now we're going to cut the intersection part so that we can make this all one piece. And it's ready to be extruded. So the whole train is 55 and the cab is 175, so I'll just subtract that part from it, and then I'll get the full extrusion that I need. There we go. Now to do the cab part. So the cab, let me create a sketch on the back here, right on this plane, or on this surface. And if you look at the bottom picture, it shows the back of the cab, and there's a little hole at the back, and it's the hitch magnet hole for the hitch peg and so forth, so that you can connect cars to it. And it says that that hole is 3.75 above. Let me just put a point for that. So 3.75 here, 0.375. And from that, there's an arch. I'm going to use a center point arch, centered right here. And that has a radius of 335. 235. There we go. It's important that it has the correct center. If you don't have the correct center, it's going to be off. All right. Now it kind of looks tilted, but now I need to put some lines going straight up, and then I'll trim everything up. So I need a line going straight up here, and then a line across the bottom, and then going straight up, and we'll trim off the excess. There we go. And I believe that's all we need to extrude that 175 out. So we'll hit extrude, click both of them, and that's 175. Oops. 1.75. There we go. Now we have the overall shape. The only other bigger feature that we're missing is cutting the cab out of it. So to do that, we're going to create a sketch on this surface. And the main part of that is it's a circle, it's a semicircle, and then the back of it is a rectangle shape. So to make this, I need to start with a circle. I'm just going to click somewhere in the cab, not on like a line or anything, just somewhere in the cab. And that needs to be a radius of 0.5, which would be a diameter of 1. This is taking some time loading, apparently. Then I'm going to use the line tool. And I'm going to click on the center, and I'm going to go straight up. Click on the circle. It needs to be a horizontal line. You see the symbol there that's a straight up and down line? That means horizontal. Sorry, vertical. That means vertical. And then I'm going to come out horizontally and click here. Hit escape, and then do the same thing but down below. Going to use the trim tool now to trim off that part, and then close this off. And I can remove this part too if I want. There we go. So now I just need to extrude that. Remove through all. Looks like it works. Check mark. All right, so now we have the basic shape. The next steps is to put in all the holes, and that part takes some time. So let's get each one down. Let's start by putting a sketch here. And we have a hole that is 0.25 and 0.5 in. So I'm just going to put a point where the center point will be. See how it gives me that right there? I'm going to just put a point there. Check. And then I'm going to click on the hole button. Click our point. And we want not a counterbore, just a simple hole. Blind, meaning it has a certain depth to it, not all the way through. Its diameter is 0.25. And 1/2 inch for depth. Okay. Now we should have some holes on the side. We're going to have 2 points. And I want these points to be horizontal to each other. So I'm going to click each one and say horizontal so that way they're lined up. That's very important. If you don't, then you've got to do two separate dimensions for height. According to this, it is 1/2 inch high, and it is 1 inch over, and this other one is 4.5 inches over. Again, you can get all these numbers from your paper in your notebook. Now, this thing calls out that it's 1/4 dash 20 UNC. It has a depth of 0.875, and it says times 4. That's because there's holes on both sides. 1/4 means 1/4 of an inch. 20 UNC means it's threaded. It has a thread count to it, and that's what we're going to do. Now, there isn't a way to do a thread count call out for the hole here, which I find kind of annoying. Unfortunately, it's not that way. It's 1/4 of an inch, so we can leave that. And this is 0.875. There we go. So we don't have a way of putting threads on there. We can call it out as a note if we were to do a drawing page. Yeah. So mirror this onto the other side. Oh, perfect. You already did. Great. I'm glad you caught up. So now we have the holes in the front. That is going to take a sketch right on the front here. This one is very intense with dimensions. So in the corner, I'm going to put all the dimensions in one place. And we have 3 points here, here, and here, something like that. One of them is right in the middle. And we're going to make these two horizontal to each other so we don't have to put in that many dimensions. We've got a height of 125. $625. And then they are distances from the edge. Oh, whoops, that's not the way it has it. It's all referenced off of one edge, 625. There we go. And we will extrude these out. I mean, as a whole. So we'll do each one of these. Just keep in mind that's 0.125 times 3 doesn't mean you multiply that number by 3. It just means there's 3 of them. Last one is to put that hole on the top. Now this can be a little bit of a challenge. To do so, we need to do a plane offset. So I'm going to click on the top plane, and I need to offset it so that it is right on this surface here. And I can calculate that it is, remember we put a dimension, from here to the center of this circle was 1.375. And then I add in the radius, because that takes us to the center of the radius of this, which would be 0.75. And that should put me right at the top. See how it lines right up with it? Perfect. Now we can create a sketch on there, on this new plane 1. I'm going to look at it straight from above. And we're going to put a point there. And we need it to be able to reference from the front of the train to that point. And if we look at the dimension right at the top, it's 0.875. There we go. And we are going to make that a hole. And you can get the sizing from it right off of the paper. There we go. Now we're completely done minus the last step. If you notice, there's a little note and it says all round edges are 0.1 in radius, and there's some 31 edges that we need to click on. I'm going to get rid of all of our planes that we're looking at and the origin just so they're not visible. So I'm going to hide them all, and then I can zoom in a little bit better. And I'm going to start with my fillet, and I want to try and get all of them at once. So I'm going to start kind of meticulously right at the front here. Okay, so now I got the front rounded. And then I'm going to click these side edges here and here. I'm going to get the crease in between here. See how that makes it a lot rounder look. Make sure to get both sides of this crease. Okay, let me get the part that wraps around the train. I click here, 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 here. Okay, and then we have the top of the train, this little roof part. I'm kind of switch to the back here. I've got this back part here. And then let's go into the flat part and the circle part of the cab. There's a little tiny piece here, don't miss that. And then almost done. I think there's about 38 edges. And then last little piece right there. All right. Looks like we got them all. Let me just kind of inspect. Oh, not like that. Should be good. There we go. Now the train is complete, ready for some decoration. Let's just set it to the right material. It is on your paper, yellow brass. And we'll give it a nice appearance of yellow for right now. Let's see here. Maybe. You can kind of pick your yellow there. We're going to try and decorate this a little bit further later, but let's get all the parts finished first. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Let me know when you finish it, and I can kind of inspect its dimensions, let you know if you missed anything. Thank you. Bye.